Exhale your negative thoughts away. Sounds very ethereal, doesn't it? But what the fuck does that mean? Think about it. What does exhale negative thoughts away actually mean? In the personal development world, especially if you come from the hypnosis world like I did, there are a lot of fluffy ass things like this that are insider scripts, that are inside meditations. And as well-meaning as it is, it actually does not make any sense to the regular layperson who is going to be your client or going to be eventually listening to this. And that won't make sense to people like me who are incredibly analytical and logical and very like direct, straight to the point. That doesn't mean anything. Exhaling negative thoughts it really doesn't mean anything. And again, even though you are well-meaning when you give this advice, it's not very helpful because it's too ethereal. It is too open for interpretation, right? So someone could interpret that and say, okay, I just have to exhale and all the negative thoughts are going to go away. That's not necessarily true, right? We know that. And so if you do want to make an impact, if you want to help someone breathe more freely another day and better today, it is a whole lot easier and more helpful if you actually give them a step-by-step process. What do you mean by exhale negative thoughts away? Is it like how many do I inhale? Do I exhale? Like how many inhales do I do? How many exhales do I do? And I know that this seems quite obvious for a lot of us, but a lot of the time, especially if we're too deep into the personal development world, we just do things and say things without actually knowing what it means, right? This is quite typical for humans. So if you have a client in front of you and you say something like exhale negative thoughts away, how do you know that that person in front of you actually understood what you meant, right? And actually did exhale their negative thoughts away. And so this is, I know, also very picky and very peculiar, but if this is what I see a lot in the personal development world where we just do these things but not actually get the relief. So if you want to get relief using breath, you want to be able to know what the hell that practice is for and give it to the person who exactly needs it. So if, for example, I have a client in front of me and they have a lot of negative thoughts and they say that they want to use something like breath to relieve it, then I would first assess what nervous system state they're in, because breath can influence your state. And if we give the wrong breath ratio between inhale or exhales, it can potentially exacerbate a lot of symptoms. So you want to be able to know these very basic foundational principles of how the body works in order for you to help your clients get the relief. This is called specificity. So, for example, maybe I have a client who's very anxious. If a client is very anxious and panicky and they're more in the sympathetic nervous system state, then they would benefit on exhale centric practices for the nervous system using breath. So meaning they would need to focus on exhales to lower and down regulate the system. Okay, this needs to be very specific. And so then because they're very anxious and they have a lot of negative thoughts within this anxiety and panic, in order for them to actually relieve those negative thoughts using breath, using the exhale, is to make sure that their exhales are longer than their inhales, right? And so what is that, right? You could just tell them to inhale for 2, exhale for 4, right? Inside my nervous system courses, I teach the breath pattern of 1 to 2. So the ratio between inhales or exhale. So 1 inhale, 2 exhale, 2 count, or 2 to 4, or 3 to 6, right? And so getting more specific with regards to that is going to be more helpful for your client and make it make sense to them and make it practical and something that they can easily come back to that actually works. So if I have a very anxious client and we go, okay, I teach this very specifically, but say for example, they have successfully done three inhales to 6 exhales. And we reassess afterwards, and they did feel more calm. They did feel that the negative thoughts float away. That is going to be a better transformation for that person versus just me saying, exhale negative thoughts away without any meaning or without any real instructions as to how to actually achieve that. And so if you're using that, and if you want to get better and more impactful with your work, first of all, knowing exactly what you're doing is going to be helpful, but also at the same time, being more being better with your cueing with regards to what you actually want your clients to do is going to be a lot more helpful because again, exhale negative thoughts away is a very open interpretation that can be misinterpreted and not going to work for the client. And if you want to be better and actually have clients telling you that, oh my God, I feel so much better and relieved and my anxiety is a lot lower, then you get to be very specific with how you're cueing your clients to regulate their nervous system. And if you're down regulating, focus on the exhales. And so I know that this is very picky, but we're all about leveling up, right? And so try this practice out for yourself. And if you actually need a lot more education with regards to how to actually work with the nervous system, especially using breath, because a lot of the times, a lot of people screw this up and actually make patterns worse, make the anxiety worse because the cueing for breath is very off. And if you want to learn how to do that safely so that your clients actually have lasting relief, then comment below Superpower Stress Series and I will give you the information and the actual process to help you do this successfully.